Hello and welcome to your weekly recharge of all the latest electric car news from the gang at electrifying.com. This week, we're going to be talking about the bargain bus, Dinky Dacias and the Gilded Genesis. That doesn't quite work, does it, Mike?
Yeah, it
The
does.
Gilded... Does
It
it?
does. Yeah,
I
Gilded
feel
Genesis.
like you may have written that at the end of a long week and it's only Tuesday, so that concerns me. Plus, of course, we'll also be answering your electric car questions, dipping into the post bag. To find out what you had to say about last week's episode, welcome to the Kilowatt Half Hour. I'm Ginny.
And I'm Mike.
Just the two of us today, Mike. We've had to put Nicola on a rapid charge, haven't we? She's exceeded her WLTP figure and just done too much.
She sounded like, what's that thing the Leaf had? Was it turtle mode? She sounded like she was very much in, tortoise mode, wasn't it? Or something like that.
Tortoise mode. It was tortoise mode. I'd forgotten about that.
I spoke to her earlier. She sounded she was running at about 60% power. So I think we had to find a rapid charger and plug her in.
I think you might be running at 60% power as well with your Gilded Genesis. I mean, I love the budget buzz and the Dinky Dacia, but
yeah, there's always the third one's always a bit tricky.
that tricky third one. I think we've also had to be separated from each other because we're getting a bit of a reputation, aren't we? And for being, what are we? What were we called recently? The naughty twins.
The naughty twins, yeah. Yeah, just ganging up on me. So at least it's 1-to-1 here, isn't it? I don't feel quite as outnumbered as I have in previous weeks.
It's a fair fight. I didn't actually realise we were ganging up on you, but we will be coming to that comment later, as always. We love to hear your comments. Do either let us know in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube. Hello if you are. And if you're listening on your podcast platform, you can email us podcast@electrifying.com. So should we have a chat about what we've been driving? What have you been driving, Mike?
Well, I went to drive the facelifted Genesis GV60 last week.
Oh, yes.
At Thruxton, and I came away with two things. I came away with driving impressions of the car and a stinking cold.
The gift that people give you at this time of year as you go into winter. It's really nice.
You shouldn't blame people, but it's George from Watcar sat next to me at the presentation for an entire hour and just spent his time and sneezing and coughing. So I just knew it was inevitable I was going to be ill. And I am, so there you go. But it's an interesting thing, the GV60. You kind of forget about it a bit, don't we? Because it's in that sort of strange kind of area of the market where it doesn't get an awful lot of attention, but it gets finally getting the big batteries, finally getting the 84 kilowatt hour battery that the Ioniq 5 and the EV6 got. I think that must be getting on for 2 years ago now. It felt like 18 months ago at least for those cars getting that.
A long time ago, yeah.
So it's lumbered on with a 77 kilowatt hour battery up until now. So it's got the bigger battery now, and it's got a few of the bits and pieces from things like the Ioniq 5N and everything. So it's got the virtual gear shift. Nice. Drift mode that you'll be using every day, obviously. It's got a slightly tidier design. It's lost that strange kind of moustache thing at the front. So it's got kind of a slightly more, a bit like Volkswagen did with ID3. They kind of made it a bit more normal. Yeah. So it's got a normal sort of front bumper. They used to have the side sill used to be black, and that used to be an old designer's trick to try and reduce the height of the car. They got rid of that, so it does look a little bit more sort of puddingy around the middle now, but it is a tidier piece of design, and I'll do the review. I mean, it doesn't feel a great deal different to drive, but it does have a longer range, which I think people would look for. So yeah, interesting car.
They're an interesting brand, I think, because like you say, they're sort of they're not forgettable, that's unkind, but we do forget about them. So I suppose they are. But also, you go to Korea, because I was in Korea last week driving something that I'll come on to in a minute, but you go to Korea, they're everywhere.
Really?
They really are. There's loads of them. And it was quite remarkable. We actually there were a few of us out there, and we actually talked about the fact that you do see them all over the place. So they obviously sell in their, in the country they're made in. And you see slightly more of them in America as well, but they're just not something that I spot a lot of here in the UK.
No, and you do see them because they're unusual. So you do, when you do see one, it's a surprise. But yeah.
But yeah, they were all over the place last week. But I obviously wasn't there driving a Genesis. I was there driving that new Kia, the van.
Yeah.
The passenger version. And goodness me, it's an interesting thing. It really is. I think it's such a clever car. I kept calling it a car and then realised, what do you call it? It's a vehicle, isn't it? But I don't know. It seems a bit weird calling something a vehicle. It's just, pricing is fabulous on it. So it starts at £32,995. If you put that into context, the VW ID Buzz is just under 60,000. So it's It's an absolute budget buzz. And I think what I've said in the video and also in the review, which we've got live on the YouTube channel and over at electrifying.com, is if the buzz obviously feels more consumery. It feels more desirable and retro and cutesy. This is much more futuristic and affordable. And I made that comparison between the really expensive designer handbag that you kind of want, but it doesn't make sense, even when you work out the cost per how many times you'll use it, or that really well-designed rucksack. And for me, the PV5 is that. They both do the same job and they do it just as well, but they're obviously at very different price points. And it looks cool and it looks futuristic and it drives nicely and there is enough range. You've not got the power and the punch and actually the range that you'll get in the ID Buzz. I think the smaller battery, which is 46 kilowatt hours, is under the 200 mark. Yeah. So it's about 193. So that will take a dip in winter. And then you've got the larger 67 kilowatt hour battery. And that does, it does push it over 200. I think from memory, it's about 256. So it's short of the Buzz, which is just under 300. Although we do know the Buzz isn't massively efficient. And the early signs were, obviously, it's really difficult because you're not always driving this in cars in ideal conditions on launches, and you might not spend too long in them. And in this case, we seem to spend most of our time in traffic, getting in and out of Seoul, driving it. But I was exceeding the WLTP official figures in it, so it's got an awful lot going for it, and it's a clever car. It's clever. It's got really great stuff like a low step-in point. So if you're getting older people in or you're getting kids in and out, they can climb in and out on their own. I was thinking dog owners, great for dog owners because your pets can climb up themselves. And it's nice to drive, as I said. And yeah, I was really impressed with it. I really liked it. I think it's interesting. They should sell loads of them, but then I look at the Buzz and think there's not really a market for the Buzz as much, is it? Is there? I don't know who would buy a Buzz. Do you know anyone who might buy a Buzz, Mike?
No, only a fool would buy a Buzz, obviously, as we know. Yeah, and it's also got things.
Is that price point though? Is that because of the price? Does that kind of vehicle suddenly become much more attractive when it's 30 odd grand?
I think so. I think the Buzz was exceeded all our not expectations, but when we were thinking how much it was going to cost, and it's crept up by probably 10 grand since it was launched as well, hasn't it? With various things, dropping trim levels and that kind of thing. So it's really punchy on price, isn't it? I mean, what struck me about the PV5 is it's got a lot of things I would like on mine. So vehicle to load would be really handy because I do outdoorsy stuff with it, and that's a pain in the arse, especially as the Ioniq 5 had it, and I kind of got used to that. And the other thing was, when I was looking at the cargo version, the price of that is so low, isn't it? Compared to the time you take because there's still a big chunky government grant on on electric vans, aren't there? There's still a $5,000 grant on that. It was like sort of under 23,000, 24,000.
It's a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer.
So I mean that's and it does look good. It's not a Buzz in the way it looks, but I think they've been clever, haven't they? Because they've got small wheels and that kind of thing. All that stuff that really helps with range. Because my Buzz is on sort of comedy 21-inch wheels.
Which looks great.
They look great, but the ride's terrible, and it really hammers the range. But I'm shallow, so I'd take that. I'd take looks over them.
Yeah, obviously the nicer flight vehicle load comes on the higher specs. So there's 2 specs on the Passenger. But even the entry level, when I started to drill down into what was included, it's a really compelling package. And I think if you've got big family, loads of stuff and paraphernalia, it's a really good option. And then, of course, there's a 7-seat version coming next year. And we had quite a lot of questions into the podcast, didn't we? And I have a feeling we mentioned one of these either in the last episode or maybe the one before about the wheelchair accessible version.
Yeah.
Didn't we have
some? Yeah. Someone saying, where is it? Because they've been waiting and not heard anything.
So where is it? It is absolutely happening. We are going to see it soon, actually, this side of Christmas, and it will be on sale in 2026. And part of the reason I strongly suspect that the PV5 has got that low step-in point is because they have worked to develop a WAV version of this right from the beginning. So they're doing all the conversion versions, like what I did there. Oh, you know what I mean? Yeah. All the variants themselves. So they've got this factory that they built that they were very proud of, that they took us all to, and they're doing everything themselves. So normally, of course, you get your, van and seats are chopped out and things are thrown away, and it's massively wasteful process. So they're not doing any of that. So both from a sustainability point, it's a big tick, but also from an affordability point, because wastage isn't, great for big car companies.
No.
And the WAV version was developed right from the beginning. They knew, and I think it's going to be the only WAV vehicle on the market that's got sliding doors, so you'll be able to, enter and exit via the side, and you'll get a forward-facing view of the road. So I'm actually quite excited to see it, and I think what we'd really like to do. Obviously, I'm not the best person to be reviewing this, really. So I would love to know if you are either a user of a wheelchair accessible vehicle, or that's something that, you might a family member or a mate or somebody who uses one. What are your must-haves in it? What should we be looking out for to make sure that it's got, and what should Kia have thought of? I think it'd be really helpful that if anyone has got any comments or thoughts on that, we'd really like to know what you think. Because we will be taking a look at it, and ideally we'd take one of you with us when we do, and who knows, maybe we could even make that happen. But I think that's what's exciting for me. I think about this PV5 is that they've thought right from the beginning of all the variants that they're going to add. So we saw a flatbed. We got some spy video of the flatbed truck. So it's an unusual approach, and it's a sensible approach as well, isn't it? Which is not something we see often in the car industry.
No, it's not. So it's I think it's and it opens the door to a lot of things, doesn't it? All these kind of purpose-built vehicles based on that one platform. It's the kind of, we've been promised this for years, haven't we? So it's a skateboard platform. We can virtually build anything. It's the return of coach building, effectively, isn't it? Electric cars, because they open that door up. It hasn't happened yet, I don't think, to the degree that perhaps everyone thought it was. But this is sort of showing that sort of thing is starting to work. Purpose-built cars for wheelchair access, for professional users, for taxis, that kind of thing. So it's and it's reaping the rewards. The price is showing that they can do it for the price they were going to promise.
There is a camper as well, which they're going to do, and we saw a concept of the camper. I think it was in the US last year, and it looks great. And there's part of me that thinks, do you know what? They're going to get it out to market before VW gets the buzz version of the camper, because that seems to just be coming next year. No, it's definitely coming next year. No, it's coming next year. And it really wouldn't surprise me if the first electric camper we get is based on this PV5.
Yeah. Everyone thinks the Buzz is a camper anyway. I mean, everyone gets in and go, wonder where the sink is, and they think, well, it hasn't got one. I don't want one. I don't need one. I've done that. I've been out of California. I don't.
Mike, as long as they don't want to ask where the toilet is and try and find it themselves.
This is true. Yeah.
But it was good. It was a great. I'm kind of excited about everybody else on the team driving that. Sometimes you do get a car and you're just like, or a vehicle, and you're just like, I want everyone else to drive it and see what they think, because I think it's got a lot of charm. And I think it's a really good package. It'd be interesting to see what the sales are like. Are you thinking about buying one? Let us know in the comments below, or email us.
Yes.
So what else has been going on? What else?
Well, from one extreme to the other, almost as if we planned it. Dacia have released a concept car called the Hipster. And if you can look beyond the awful name.
It's very Shoreditch, isn't it?
It's a very Shoreditch, yeah. It's an interesting thing. It looks, if you look at the picture, you think, oh, that's a nice big old, it's a bit like a PV5 in terms of size. But when you actually look at the driver driving it, they've either got an enormous head or it's a really small car, and it's the latter, because it's designed a little bit like a sort of like a K car, KEI, a Japanese K car, in so much as it is very small. It is, but massively roomy inside. Mm-hmm. It's 3 meters long, 1.5 meters wide, and 1.5 meters tall, 800 kilos. And the whole reason why this exists is because Dacia and other manufacturers are lobbying the EU to create a separate class of car, because their argument is that cars are too heavy, too expensive, they're too complicated. For a lot of users, wouldn't have any need for the safety systems that are in modern production cars. So is there room for an in-between category between quadricycles like the Ami and the Twizy and the Microlino and a normal car? This would allow them to bring EVs to the market far quicker, cheaper, less environmental impact because they use fewer materials. So yeah, it's an interesting pack. I think it looks great. It's as close to as I come to get excited about anything these days in terms of cars. I thought it looked great. I love the concept of it. But the cars I love, they end up being financial disasters for the manufacturers. So this is somebody at Dacia is probably listening to this and pulling the plug on it right now because I like it. But it's an interesting package, isn't it?
It's a really clever package. I just love the thought of like, oh my God, no, Mike likes it. Mike from Electrifying likes it. Oh no, quick.
Let's nix that now.
Back to the drawing board. I think it's charming. I got quite excited when I saw this, so much so that I've already messaged them and asked if we can go and look at it. I thought it was great. I think it gave me it gives me Citroën Ollie vibes a little bit.
It's that, isn't it? Yeah.
In its kind of shape, also in the interior, and of course where you've got that very simple pared back interior, but you've got just the phone connector and that's it again, which is also what we get in the AMI, of course, as well. It's really interesting, isn't it? Because that's what happened with the I want to say the Twizy, the Renault Zoe, really, because it didn't have all the safety kits that more expensive cars need, that cars need generally for Euro NCAP. That's why it ended up crashing out of Euro NCAP, quite literally, didn't it? It had its score slashed. And it's a really interesting case that they're making.
I mean, I'd be interested to know what people think. Are they prepared to, say, well, look, not really fussed about a 5-star NCAP rating. I haven't got kids or anything precious in the car, only myself. And, if you ride a scooter or a motorbike or something, you're used to kind of risk anyway. So are we happy to, if it's with full transparency that you're getting into a car that doesn't have all the kind of safety kit? I imagine they probably engineer these things with airbags and the basic kind of insurance, but not
I think this was always, I think, Renault's point, wasn't it? That actually, in terms of pedestrian impact and side impact, all of those important zones, it actually was fine in all of those. And I think as long as you know that in terms of crash testing, it's not going to crumple on you. There are degrees of what you're happy with and what you're not happy with. But if actually you think, well, I don't need parking sensors and I don't need, warning lights for, time to take a rest. I don't need all of that stuff. If you're happy with a more pared back safety experience, and that doesn't mean that the vehicle is unsafe, it just means that you're not going to get all the electronic driver aids, then would that make sense to you? I mean, I don't know, would it bother me? I don't know, actually. I mean, it's not really something I've thought a great deal of when I've driven around in an AMI, I've got to say.
No. And, I ride motorbikes and I like to think I'm safe, but I don't feel like I'm I wouldn't feel underprotected in a car like that because there would be mostly, I'm not going to take it on the motorway. I'm going to potter around town in it, and there's lots of people like that. But we've been here before with sort of cars like that. I mean, I'm very excited when the first Smart came out, so much so that I bought one, ended up paying it off for about 8 years because I was fascinated by it. And this was Mercedes' thing about everything's too heavy, too expensive, too complicated. So we're going to build this car with a Mercedes quality, blah, 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 blah. And of course, it's one of the greatest financial disasters in motoring history, Smart, isn't it? Because they never made a dime on it because everyone said it was a great idea, but no one wanted it. So it'd be interesting to see whether these cars do have a market.
Yeah, I think that will be so dependent, won't it, on range, on how much, is the range usable? Because if it's the kind of, AMI and speed as well, because if, the AMI, God, would you, I remember driving it on just a sort of a, not even a B road, but, reasonably busy B road.
And I know the one you're talking about when you were filming the tracking on it. Yeah.
Yes, really not actually liking it very much because I felt quite, just the speed wasn't enough. You just couldn't get up to enough speed. And it's very disconcerting having a queue of traffic behind you. And I think that's going to be key for any of the cars in this classes. They've got to have a decent speed. I mean, did you tell me it was 60 or was that were we talking about it and we decided that 60 was about right?
I think we decided it.
I think we did, didn't we? And the same with range. It's kind of like needs to do, 70, 80 miles for me, I reckon.
Yeah.
So that it's enough of a, so if you're living in a city, it would work for you, or in a town as well. So that if you haven't got home charging and you don't have to charge, this is a kind of thing that could be great for that.
Yeah. I guess the irony of this is that Dacia proposed this, but Dacia have managed to, they've already built their argument against it in so much as they kind of argue you can't build a cheap, light electric car, but they offer the Spring for 14 grand. So that kind of you're already making one, guys, unless you want to sort of bring it in less than that, which
we're happy with. We'll take that.
That's quite a challenge, to build anything. Maybe they're looking to try and future-proof themselves and think this is something we're going to try and make in Europe. So obviously your production costs are going to be so much higher than coming from China.
But yeah, I'm just looking at it again, and it's definitely giving me Ollie vibes. What do you think of it, gang? Let us know in the comments below. And also let us know on the safety point of view as well. It's a 5-star Euro NCAP rating, something that really sways your decision. And I'm guessing that may depend a lot on whether you're carrying kids or other people regularly in the car. It'll be really interesting to hear what you think. Good stuff. So, Mike, have we got any bargains? Have you got a bargain for us?
Barnard's Bargains, yeah. He's contacted me.
He sent the bargain over.
The email has arrived. Yeah, he's found two things. If you don't like these are Tom that chose them. A Tesla Model 3 Performance he's found.
Yeah,
82 kilowatt hour, great car. I mean, we've all agreed it's a fantastically quick car. Everything you'd want on it. 24,500 quid.
Wow.
It is 17,900 miles on the clock. It's below 25 grand, so it's 700 and a bit underneath the book price for it. It was 60 grand new.
Wow.
So yeah, if you're interested, I checked it. It's still there. www.electrifying.com/used cars. If you search for Tesla Model 3, it's still there. So.
God, that's a bargain. That is a bargain. That might tempt me. It was funny because we had a Model 3 Performance coming in and none of us were that enthusiastic about driving it, were we? Which maybe shows that we need some younger members of the team. I don't know. We were just all a bit like, okay, all right.
I think so. I think we all would have gone for that, wouldn't we?
A few years ago, we'd have been fighting over that.
I needed to check because I'd realised I'd managed to crop that little bit off it. It's a 71 plate, so it's it's not the earliest one, but it's not the latest one. So it's I think that's a really good package for that amount of money. But if you're in the leasing, if you fancy a bit of leasing, Tom's found a pre-registered Cupra Born, 59 kilowatt hour V1. So it's the kind of base entry level one, but they're always pretty well equipped, aren't they? Cupras. We've got V2 at the moment, and it's all the buttons that you wouldn't really want for anything else. £265 a month for a 4-year deal. £2,382 down as a deposit. That's not bad though, is it? Under 300 quid for a Born.
Yeah, that is good, and it's a car that we like a lot. I mean, I know you're running one at the moment, aren't you? But the V1, we've got a long-term review of that on the website as well, and also on the YouTube channel. And we've spent a lot of time in them, and I kind of, you do see them around a lot, but again, it's a car that I just think people don't appreciate actually how good that is. I think for a long time it was one of the best cars out of the whole VW group.
Yeah.
Really was. It's a cracking car. I just was going to talk, actually, what I've forgotten to mention was this video that we've done that's out on the YouTube channel.
I thought you jumped on the script, but I'm happy to jump in whenever you need it to.
It's just thinking about. So if you haven't seen it already, please go and watch it because it is brilliant, and Nicola is brilliant in it. So we came up with this idea that, we love electric cars, and I'm betting that if you're listening to this, you probably quite like them too. But there are lots of people out there that don't. And I think it's very easy to sort of sit there and be critical or come out with all the, oh no, that, they're absolutely fine. Everybody should be driving one. So we decided to try and find a few people, 4 people, genuine members of the public who really don't like electric cars, and put them in them for the first time and see if we could convert the EV haters. And it's possibly one of the funniest days I've ever had.
Yeah.
And I think it was such a laugh, wasn't it, Mike? It was great. I don't want to do a spoiler because you need to watch the video to see if we did convert anyone at the end. But you also do need to just watch and just see their reactions at the beginning to just why they don't like electric cars, because they are just, but there will be the things that if you drive an EV, there'll be the things that your mate down the pub who doesn't like them has said, and your next door neighbour who thinks you're mad has said. So it was really sort of common criticisms, often unfounded. And it was such a fantastic experience. But by far the best line from it was when one of them, a lovely lady called Sarita, likened the experience of driving her electric car for the first time as like driving her mobile phone.
Yeah.
Which I just thought was fantastic. I didn't know what to do with that. I mean, yeah, it was brilliant.
They were great. I mean, fair play to everybody who came along to that because, they stuck to their guns, but they equally, as you say, we don't want to spoil but they were open to trying stuff, and that's part of the battle, isn't it? In so much as you don't want to lose face by saying, actually I was wrong.
Yeah.
And I would say the results are mixed, but it does make fascinating viewing. Finally to get somebody where you can actually. Because you can say to somebody, I meet people at running club and say, "Oh, it doesn't do this, it doesn't do that. They're no good for me." And you say something to them, but you can tell that the shutters are down already. But if you actually put people in cars and show them what it's like, generally speaking, most people are surprised, aren't they? In a nice way.
They are. And like you say, hats off to them. They were absolutely brilliant sports. Also because they were really happy to talk about the things they were, concerned about, which again is quite a hard thing to do. And it's on there on a video on YouTube with, all these people watching it. They were great. So if you haven't already, go and check that out. It is over on the YouTube channel and it is well worth a watch. It will definitely make you chuckle. Nicola handles it all brilliantly. Let's just say.
Yes, of course.
She does. Have we got any? We don't have a welcome to electric this week. Don't forget to know if
we've got two potential ones. But yeah.
The Electric Car Club over the last few weeks. Let us know. Do drop us an email or in the comments below, and we'll do a welcome to electric to you. But we do have buying questions, don't we? What's our first buying question, Mike?
This is from Stu. We had two buying questions this week. We had one from Stu, STU. And then we had one from Sai, who was even signed himself as SI, Sai. So I figured if it had gone on any longer, we'd just have somebody just called S, because it was just like very short on letters this week for the questions. But anyway, this is from Stu via podcast@electrifying.com. He says, I currently have a Citroën C5X FEV. Nicola, yes, the indicator sound is good. I know Nicola highlighted that, but I'm looking to replace it with a 2 to 3 year old EV. I've had Citroën cars most of my life because I like the comfort. You are not alone, Stu, because I think that's certainly one of Citroën's USPs, isn't it? Anyway, I've looked at the Enyaq 80 as a possible replacement, but this has to be near on self-financing. They're hard to find at the right price. They are quite a bit of money. And in reality, it may be a good idea to drop down a segment and get a slightly smaller car. So now to the question. What choices do I have for a floaty, comfortable car similar to the C4? The C4 is possibly on my shortlist, but like other Stellantis cars, it doesn't always live up to the WLTP specified range.
And it was interesting because this led to a conversation between the two of us saying that, comfort in cars is not something that's prioritised by all car makers.
It's not. They want them sporty and
it's really
dynamic.
Yes, it is. And the one that I thought of was the Renault 4.
Yeah.
Which very similar in price to the Citroën. I think you'll agree, Mike, very nice car to drive that. It's got a very nice ride and actually is just a really good all-round car with loads of space, very practical.
Yes.
But we were kind of struggling a little bit with this one, weren't we?
We were because everything we picked out was price-wise, we think, that's a little bit. And you think kind of Volkswagen groupie tends to be anything kind of German almost by default has a fairly firm ride. That's kind of I think it's a lot of it is down to the fact that roads in Germany are a lot
Really
better
good.
than ours. So
Yeah.
generally speaking, when cars are sort of benchmarked in Europe and then they come to the UK, you really notice the difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that C4, it'd certainly be cheap because C4 prices are very accessible, I think is the word they like to use, isn't it?
Yes.
A Renault 4, yes. And we don't say a budget, a 2 to 3 year old. I'm thinking it's going to be around the kind of, yeah, you probably could get a new entry level 4, which would probably be a bonus because the posher Renault 4s all come with bigger wheels. And
They
as we've
do. Yeah.
discussed, you can almost buy any car, but as long as it's on small wheels, because it absolutely does make a huge difference, doesn't it? My Buzz
Yeah.
is on 21-inch comedy wheels, and the ride is atrocious. But
Yeah.
I've driven them on 19s, and they're great. It feels a completely different car. So maybe that. And you think L Rock as well, don't you? Might be an option.
I thought L Rock would be a good one because it does have that nice kind of Skoda, kind of slightly wafty ride that the Enyaq has got, albeit in a smaller package. And then we started to look at used cars as well, didn't we?
We
Because
did.
once you go into the used market, I think you are actually getting some more interesting options for around the same money. But I don't know if that would be a possibility for you, because once you get into there, then it opens up a whole host of more expensive premium cars that are now hitting more affordable prices that have definitely got that more wafty, comfort built into them. But again, the caveat being you need to really think about the wheels that they've been spec with and nothing too big.
Yeah.
But did you, am I right? Did you find an i4 or am I making that up?
No, I did find an i4, which totally undoes my argument about not buying a German car, obviously, because an i4 is very
It does
German.
actually. Yeah. Oh.
But what you want is an i4 that somebody's paid for themselves, so they haven't bothered ponying up for the big wheels. Because a standard BMW is coming on quite small wheels, but generally speaking, because they're all bought by companies and people just tick all the boxes. Yes, I need the M Sport 21-inch wheels. They end up being on huge, but you can find them. And if you do find one that's on small wheels, I think that would be. And the suspension generally on premium cars is a little bit better, a little bit kind of higher quality, the damping, that kind of thing. So you might find that something like an i4, or even a Q4 that you had a Q4 for a while, didn't you?
I had a Q4 and that had a very, and again, just don't go silly with the big wheels, but the ride on that was pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
I also thought about the Toyota Barry, as we fondly call it, but its official name is the
BZ4X, which I think they've shortened now, haven't they? So it's
we didn't like that, so we rechristened it just the Barry at Electrifying, which we think it suits. Tom had one of those for a while. It's a massively practical car. I had it and I wasn't enamored with it as much as Tom was, but I remember him being particularly fond of the ride on that car. That was one of the things that he really liked, and he likes a big old comfy car, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got a bad back, so he's the perfect person to ask about ride quality because he soon complains. I mean, it's like that we never heard the end of it when he had that Mini Cooper Works.
Oh, he hated it. That was the worst week of his
that.
life. I literally, I think he'd have rather walked than got in that car. And
He
there's
would.
nothing wrong with it whatsoever, but it just took umbrage, didn't he?
He took his 20-year-old Panda everywhere. Not the bear, but the car everywhere because he couldn't stand them in his ride quality.
And the other thing, just to point out as well, that I know in the email you did mention, Stu, that you had looked at an Enyaq. Of course, once you start to look in the used market for around that same money, you will get an absolute cracker of an Enyaq, because they are, what are you raising your eyebrows for? Because I've mentioned the Enyaq.
No, there's the swear jar for Enyaq.
It was Stu that put it in the email. He literally put that in as a car that he's considered, but actually it was hard to get the one that he wanted. So yeah, I reckon go and have a look at the electrifying.com used car listings and see if you could find something in there instead. Maybe don't go new.
Yeah.
Shall I do size?
You go for Psy. Yeah,
I'll go
this
for
is an
Psy.
interesting one.
Sai sent us an email, podcast@electrifying.com, if you want to do the same. Sai said, I'm currently driving a Subaru Outback and contemplating even what on earth to replace it with if I can. Range is very important. Performance is very important. Gosh, those two don't really go hand in hand, do they? Driving experience is important. Speed, ease of charging is important. So far, my list to look at includes the ID7 GTX Tourer, probably the obvious replacement, really. The Model 3 dual motor long range. Shame they don't make a wagon. The MG IM5 Performance could be a left field option. The BMW i4 M60. The ID7 seems to tick virtually all the boxes of the Outback, except that rather silly restricted 112 miles per hour top speed.
Yeah.
Anything I might have overlooked? I think quite possibly, Si, you might have overlooked the speed limits in the UK. Maybe? I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't
Please
say.
tell
I
me that you're not.
don't think he's from Germany. I don't think he's hitting the Autobahn every morning. But yeah.
I'm sure Si just means that. I don't know what. Anyway, Si, please tell me you're not driving at that speed. No, because we're not going to be looking for a car for you for much longer if you are.
Yeah.
Vicky would say, if she was here,
Yeah, I was going to say,
she would say ID7, do it. I am erring actually on that list towards the BMW i4 M60.
Okay.
I think that's an absolutely brilliant car. And actually one of those cars that, again, because it's been out for a few years now, we kind of forget about a little bit. But I still think that's one of BMW's nicest driving cars. Drives really well. And in terms of the things that you want, which is range it's got, which is performance it is very, very nice to drive. And also the charging is good and it's efficient. I mean, it's got a really good rating in our electrifying efficiency rating. Mm-hmm. So personally for me, I would steer you in the direction, if you haven't already, of taking an i4 out and just spending a bit of time in that. I wouldn't bother with the M3 dual motor long range. I just don't think the ride's nice enough on it. The MG IM5 is an interesting one. So I drove that a few weeks ago and you drove it. We talked about this last week, didn't we, Mike? Or the week before. Yeah. It's quite a nice car to drive, that. But the performance is utterly mad, which might actually suit side down to the ground.
700 horsepower.
It's got absolutely ridiculous amounts of power.
It does.
What did you think of it when you drove it?
Yeah, I mean, I drove it at a test track, so I mean, albeit on a very short bit. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to have driven it a bit further and get sort of under the skin of it. I think when you drive cars for occasionally like that, just quick bursts, it's hard to get a picture of what it's like. But I mean, it certainly felt really good quality, inside and out. Yeah. It felt really slick. So yeah, I mean, it's you can see why they wanted to call it MG IM rather than just to kind of give it just another MG number, because it is feel a notch different to the MG products that we've driven. So it was interesting. I mean, going back to what Si was saying, I like the ID7 wagon, but I'm surprised no manufacturer yet has come up with a kind of high riding estate. Because we share the. I don't know if it's you as well, but I know Barnard and I really like the old Volvo XC70, and Audi Allroads. Remember those? Those kind of
love them.
And that strikes me as a great compromise, because you still got the right high riding position that people like from, an SUV, but you've got the more aero kind of friendliness of an estate. So why hasn't anyone done that yet? Volkswagen, build one, please, because you've got everyone's got the heritage to do it.
I really liked that Octavia concept that I saw in Munich. What's that called? The Concept O. Is that right?
Vision O.
The Vision O. It was the Concept 3 was the different one. That was the Hyundai one, wasn't it? I think that could be lovely. Give that a bit of punch and performance, and stick a VRS badge on that when it comes out. And I think that will be an awful lot of fun to drive. But yeah, I think you've got some good solid choices there. But the two that I think the Electrifying team would advise you to try would be i4 and the ID7.
Yeah, I reckon you'd be well happy with either of those.
But maybe just go out in the MG IM just to give it a try, because the 0 to 60 times are nuts, and it does sound like that might appeal to you, if I'm honest. It's got good brakes as well, which is always important with performance like that. Right, should we go on to some comments? Should we see what you've all had to say? And there's been one subject has been absolutely inundating the comment section, hasn't it? The EV4 has caused such a stir. Around 80% of all the comments we've received have been about it. So it's a very divisive car, I think it's fair to say. And let's go through a few of them. So JJ's YouTube, who left a comment on YouTube. I like the EV4 hatch, not keen on the saloon model. The hatch will be a good seller for the brand. This seems to be a theme if you stay with us. RJB 1970, if you want some validation for your dislike of the EV4, I went to one of the EV4, EV5 launch events last week. The guy presenting asked, who's here for the EV4? Nobody put their hand up. Peter Mason, 8033. I can't believe you say the EV4 looks bad and you praise the EV3 and the 9 that are boxes on wheels with lots of awful black plastic, just for a bit of balance. Stuart Hargreaves. I don't see the issue with the EV4 hatch. The fastback, though, is horrendous. Stuart, I think you'll find this is what we agree with you on. And we've said, actually, I quite like the hatchback. It's just that fastback. It really is a very unusual looking thing from the rear. Ken H63. I saw the EV4 hatchback at the EV5 launch. Lots of you did that, apparently. Yeah. I preferred it to the EV5, which surprised me, as I was expecting to like the EV5 more than I did. I like chunky cars as I have an old Galaxy, but this didn't feel right. And I would absolutely agree with you. So one of the other vehicles that I drove out in Korea was the EV5, and we've got a video of that coming to the YouTube channel. And there's something about the design that I just don't like as much as the EV3 and the EV6 and the EV9. It's just not as compelling as those cars. And I would agree. I think the EV4 hatch is great. Anyway, so there we go. We had quite a lot of people. Do you want to take a few more? Because there's more, aren't there?
Urban Strenkan says, I must disagree with you for once. For me, the EV4 hatchback is the new Golf of the EV world, and I actually like the way it looks. Hope to see a proper GT version to give the Golf R some competition. Yeah, I think, as you clarified, I think we do quite like the EV. I mean, I wouldn't say it's perfect. There's some odd things about the back of it, but it is the pair of them. They do that is the better looking one. And at Goran Stewart 4726 says anything next to the EV4 fastback would look good.
I think
so. You can't win.
You can't win, but listen, keep them coming. And again, we do, just to be fair, we do like the hatchback. It was more that fastback, which is a car. What's the old phrase? Only a mother could love. Just going back to Ken H63, who messaged in about the EV4, he also went on to say, because I want to move back to the Micra now, I really don't see your problem with the Micra. Let's talk about that again. Let's put me back on the naughty step. Us ordinary people only care if it looks okay inside and out, which it does. 90% of buyers will not sit in an R5 and compare. The other 10% won't mind if it looks the same. It comes down to brand preference and cost.
Yes, Ken.
My EV is a 5-year-old e-Nero, which is great. When I can afford it, I'd like a used bus to replace the Galaxy and perhaps an Insta as a second car.
A man with taste. Exactly.
Man with taste. But
man with taste and who speaks sense.
Talk to Mike first before you buy the bus. I'd take his
advice
not for sale
yet.
And with the Insta, we give you a thumbs up for that, because that's a car we're very fond of. Okay. How many more episodes am I going to get told off? Or Nicola and I are going to get told off for?
Al Robinson.
Slap a Nissan badge on it.
We've got one more comment which you've missed, which is Al Robinson 6369 says, these last two podcasts were possibly your best ever. Slightly exasperated Mike and the naughty twins on top form. Never change Electrifying. So that's very nice.
We won't change. We'll get the other naughty twin back for the next episode when she's had her battery fully recharged. But until we're back next time, thank you so much for joining us. As always, do send your questions in. You can email us, podcast@electrifying.com. You can, send us abuse in the comments section, which is, of course, what YouTube comments are for. We read them all. We cry sometimes. We laugh mostly. But thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.